In the very early morning hours of February 2nd, 1989, a Montana rail link freight train was on its way over the Mullen Pass. Mullen? I feel like someone's gonna correct me no matter how I pronounce that, but that's how it's spelled. And this was going on near Helena, Montana? Or do you say it Helena, Montana? See, I hate this. There's local dialects to consider, and these words that should be simple aren't. I mispronounce everything around here according to everybody. There's no escape. These are the places. There you go. And freight train. Over the pass. Moving. Early hours in the morning, February 2nd, 1989. Montana Rail Link. That's a Class 2 railroad, by the way, a privately held one, which began operating in 1987 and quite recently stopped operating. Well, it didn't stop, but now the lines are controlled by BNSF. But at the time, it was MRL. And as part of the process of going over the pass, the train had picked up 3 extra helper locomotives when they were in Helena, because they needed it. Frankly, they just needed the extra power, and they were traveling west. But about halfway up the pass, the lead engine developed an electrical problem that caused a loss of power. This was about the same time that they were stopped due to a malfunctioning signal. Because the train was stopped anyway, the train crew decided that they were going to rearrange the locomotives. This is because it was astonishingly cold at the time. That area was going through a really bad cold snap, with the ambient temperature reaching as low as negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 34 degrees Celsius, and a wind chill as low as negative 75 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 59 degrees Celsius. It was really cold, and the train crew just didn't really appreciate the notion of continuing their trip in a locomotive without a heater. And that's fair. And they had to sit and wait for clarification on the signal anyway, so they moved the train into the Austin siding, which was on the east side of the pass, to rearrange the locomotives. They uncoupled the engines from the 49-car train to begin this process, and prior to doing so, they had set the air brakes to hold the train still. They had not set the hand brakes, which is about to become very, very relevant. Now, under normal conditions, while not setting the handbrakes was a violation of standard operating procedures, the air brakes should have been able to hold the train. But the thing that they didn't consider, which is hilarious because they were doing this only because of it, was that it was really cold. So cold that the air brakes couldn't actually work properly. At about 5:30 a.m., the air brakes would fail completely on the now decoupled train, and the crew looked on in horror as the 49-car train began to roll back down the hill towards Helena, and there was actually no way they were going to be able to stop it. The consist would travel on its own for about 9 miles, reaching an unknown speed, but certainly not slowly, though it likely would have continued and simply stopped on its own, if not for the fact that on that same line, there was a work train down in Helena, whose crew was in the middle of doing their own switching maneuver. While busily going through the motions of their job, they looked up in alarm to see the consist barreling straight towards them. Thinking quickly, they proceeded to run. Which, yeah, that's about what you could do in that situation. I mean, what were their other options? Stand in the way and shout, "You shall not pass," like Gandalf? Yeah, that's not gonna work! And they bolted, getting out of the way as the Runaway slammed into their train. The accident occurred near Benton Avenue Crossing and Carroll College, and when the dust settled, they thought that was the end of it. I mean, yeah, it was a mess. There were plenty of derailed cars, but, what you gonna do, I guess, and no one was hurt. Then, around 18 minutes after the impact, the train exploded. Yeah, that kind of changed the ball game just a little bit. The explosion plus the ensuing fire caused extensive damage to the area. The blast blew out windows in the nearby college and woke up plenty of local residents who thought there was an earthquake happening. A piece of one of the cars would land inside the college's library, but due to the fact it was really early, no one was there at the time. In fact, the timing of this accident saved, well, all the lives, because incredibly, no one was killed, despite the explosion and the ensuing fire. There was a ton of damage, in excess of $6 million, but only 2 minor injuries resulted from the accident. The major consistent issue they had to deal with was the fire, and the fact that the fire was caused by some toxic chemicals, and as a precaution, neighborhoods within a radius of 2 miles of the crash were evacuated. And remember, it's negative degrees right now. It's really cold. These people don't have time for this. The explosion also disabled electrical service, so a lot of families didn't have any heat in the frigid conditions. So yeah, it wasn't good. Fighting the fire was also made a lot more difficult because while it was probably nice and toasty fighting said fire, it was so cold that the firefighters found that the pipes were frozen and they couldn't actually get any water to fight the fire. It was a problem. But they did eventually get it under control, and slowly but surely the town would be able to resume a semblance of normalcy. The chemicals involved here were isopropyl alcohol, which is what caught fire initially, but the explosion was the hydrogen peroxide in a nearby car. It was deemed a hazardous materials release, but on a scale of hazardous materials, you could do worse than alcohol and hydrogen peroxide. It wasn't good, certainly not, but there are worse things that they could have been carrying. As for the causes of the accident, well, the immediate was crew error by not setting the brakes like they were supposed to. It was mandated that if you were to stop a train, like they did, you had to set the handbrakes too. They didn't set any. At all. Out of pure laziness because it was cold. And I get that. Also, because it was cold, well, that was the other cause. The air brakes failed. They would have been fine had it been warmer, but it wasn't. And because they didn't set the handbrakes, you get a runaway train. Montana Rail Link as a whole was also cited due to lack of oversight, but that was a bit less of a factor in this case because the immediate cause was clearly the crew being like, yeah, we're not doing that. And then realizing why they were supposed to be doing that. Yeah, it was not good, but it could have been a lot worse. Again, nobody died. But it's still an important lesson in what happens when just a handful of people don't do their jobs properly. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.